Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. On behalf of my group, I would first like to thank our lecturer, Dr. Mariana binti Idris, for giving us this opportunity to present our work for Task 1 under the course TSLB 3273. Today, we will be presenting on situational and cultural context of English language in use in Malaysian primary school. This topic is very significant because English is not only taught as a subject, but also practiced in real-life situations and shaped by cultural values. So this presentation is prepared by myself, Farah Hanani binti Rodin, together with my group members, Fatin Mushira binti Muhammad Farus and Nur Anisa binti Sahalama. So now let's move on to the table of content. So here is the table of content for our presentation. First, Fatin Mushira will explain the situational context. She will begin with the definition, provide examples from Get Smart Plus 4, and also explain how English is used in schools, and also show some classroom activities that connected to KPPB. Her section also linked to situational context to the DSKP Year 4 syllabus and ends with challenges and possible solutions. And next, Nur Anisa will cover the cultural context. She will describe what cultural context means, highlight example of celebration from Get Smart Plus 4 too, and show some language is used in those celebrations. Anisa also will connect cultural context into the primary classroom, link it to the DSKP, and discuss both challenges and opportunities. And finally, I will continue with the integration of situational and cultural context. My part will explain how both contexts come together, why they are important, the essential question that guides this topic, the implication for teachers and pupils, and finally the conclusion. So by dividing the presentation in this way, we ensure that each section is covered in detail and the whole presentation flows smoothly. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce our presentation. The objective of this presentation is to explain how situational and cultural context influence English use and learning in Malaysian primary school. We want to show that language learning does not happen in isolation, but rather in real-life context that pupils experience every day. The relevance of this topic is that it highlights the importance of adapting English to different classroom situations, while at the same time respecting diverse cultural backgrounds. This is highly related to the 21st Century Learning Framework, or KPPB, which focuses on communication, collaboration, creativity, and also critical thinking. So by understanding situational and cultural context, it helps us to see how English learning is not just about mastering grammar or vocabulary, but about learning to use the language meaningfully in real situations. So as for the flow of presentation, Fatin will explain the situational context, Anisa will cover the cultural context, and I will focus how both contexts can be integrated, why they matter, and what the implications are for the teachers and pupils.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Fatin Mushira binti Muhammad Farus and you can call me Fatin. Today I will present about situational context. So, what is situational context? Situational context refers to the situation or setting where communication takes place. It answers the question, where is the conversation happening, who is speaking to whom, and what is the purpose of the conversation. In other words, we use different words and expressions depending on the situation. Next slide is example from the Get Smart Plus book. Now let's look at the example from the Year 4 textbook, Get Smart Plus 4, Module 1, topic Where Are You From? In this topic, pupils practice three simple things but important skills. First is greetings. For example, hello, my name is Fatih. They show pupils how to start a conversation politely. Second is asking about origin. Where are you from? People learn how to ask for a basic information about others. Third one is answering about origin. I'm from Malaysia. Pupils practice talking about themselves very confidently. So this lesson gives pupils the chances to introduce themselves and interact in a very natural way. Now let's move on to situational use in school. In school, people also use English in different situations. The first situation is formal situation where pupils introduce themselves in class or during assembly. For example, good morning, I'm Ali and I'm from Selangor. Here, pupils need to be polite and use full sentence and address the audience formally. Next is during informal situation where talking to a new friend during recess. For example, I'm from Penang. Penang, where are you from? Here, people can speak more confidently or casually using short and simple sentence. So, the same language function is where to introduce yourself can be sound different depending on the situation. The next slide is classroom activities KPBB. To help pupils practice situational context, teachers can plan activities that are interactive and fun. For example, in a role play, people can act as if they are meeting for the first time. This helps them practice greeting and introduce in a natural setting. In a pair work, people can use country cards to ask and answer questions such as where are you from? And I'm from Malaysia. This allows them to use simple question and answer structure repeatedly but with different partners. The third one is a mini project where people can do a class survey by asking their friends where are you from and then present the result in a poster or a chart. This activity encourages communication, teamwork, and creativity. Last but not least, people can develop critical thinking by comparing greeting in Malaysia with different country. For instance, in Malaysia, we usually say Assalamualaikum and good morning, while in Japan, people bow in greeting. This helps pupils appreciate cultural differences while still learning English. All of this activity connect classroom learning to a real life situation, which is the heart of situational context. Next is the SKP link for the Year 4. This topic is supported by the Year 4 English DSKP. For the Content Standard 2.1, communicate simple information intelligibly, which communicate information about themselves clearly, find out simple information from others, and describe people and things clearly. For the Learning Standard 2.1.5, describe people and object using suitable words. So when people create, ask, and answer about the origin, they are actually fulfilling the TSKP standard. So let's move on to challenges and solution. So when teaching situational context in English, teacher may face several challenges. First challenge is pupil lack confidence to speak in English. Many people are afraid of making mistake and or being laughed at by their friends. This often stop them from trying to speak in different language. So what's the solution? The best solution is teacher can use a guided role play with simple script. This way, pupils feel safe and supported before they speak freely. So the second challenge is limited vocabulary to suit in different situations. For example, people may not know how to introduce themselves formally or informally. They may keep repeating the same sentence or the same simple phrases. The best solution teacher can do is teacher can provide vocabulary building games such as flashcards or country cards. This make learning more fun and help them apply suitable language in different contexts. The third challenge is pupils often code switching between Malay and English. In informal setting, people may mix Malay language with English, which reduces the chances to practice proper English. The best solution is teacher can create an English zone in class where simple phrases must be spoken only in English, such as greeting or introduction. The last challenge is shyness in new or unfamiliar contexts. Some pupils prefer to stay silent, especially when meeting new people or speaking in front of the class. The solution teacher can do is teacher can organize a group work or a pair work so pupils can practice together. Working in a smaller group reduces the pressure and builds confidence gradually. To conclude, situational context is very important in English learning because it shows pupils how to use language appropriately in different settings. From the topic Where Are You From in Get Smart Plus 4, pupils practice greetings, asking questions, and answering. These simple skills are meaningful because they can be used in both formal settings, such as during assembly, and informal setting, such as talking to a friend during recess. This topic is directly linked to the DSKP, which is require pupils to communicate simple information and describe people clearly. With suitable classroom activities like role play, mini project, or pair work, pupils can learn English in a fun and realistic way. Although there are several challenges such as lack of confidence, code switching, teachers can use a simple solution like guided role play, vocabulary games, and group work to support the pupils. I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. I'm Nurul Anissa and I will be presenting on the cultural context of English used in Malaysian primary schools using examples from the Get Smart Class 4 textbook. Now let's begin with the basics. What exactly is cultural context? Cultural context refers to the traditions, beliefs, and everyday practices that influence the way people use and understand language. It goes beyond vocabulary and grammar. It is about how words are spoken, when they are spoken, and what they mean to different groups of people. In Malaysia, cultural context is especially important because our classrooms are multilingual and multicultural. Pupils from different backgrounds such as Malay, Chinese, Indian, and indigenous groups bring their own cultural values and communication styles into the classroom. So, when pupils use English, they do not use it in a vacuum. They use it in ways that are shaped by their cultural backgrounds. This is why English in Malaysia is not always the same as English in other places. It adapts to our local context. For example, the phrase come and eat might sound like a simple invitation in English, but in our context, it often carries cultural politeness like during open houses or celebrations. Cultural context helps us see how these meanings are layered into everyday English use in schools. One of the clearest examples of cultural context can be seen in the textbook Get Smart Plus 4. In Unit 4 celebrations, pupils are introduced to events like Independence Day and Lunar or Chinese New Year. These are festivals that are part of Malaysian life, so pupils can easily connect with them. The unit includes vocabulary such as parrot, flag, decorations, presents, and fireworks. Pupils also practice describing activities. For example, they might say, "We watch the parade on Independence Day," or "We decorate the house during Lunar New Year." But in reality, in Malaysian classrooms, pupils do not stop there. They also talk about other celebrations that are part of their lives, such as Hari Raya, Deepavali, Gawai, and Kaamatan. These festivals might not appear in the textbook, but pupils naturally bring them up when sharing about their own experiences. This is where cultural context really comes in. Pupils are not just learning the language of the textbook, they are using English to talk about the cultural events that matter to them. And in the process, they are also helping their classmates learn about different traditions. So, the textbook provides a starting point, but the classroom context expands it to reflect Malaysia's diversity. When pupils talk about celebrations, cultural context directly shapes the language they use. First, we see it in greetings. Pupils use expressions like Happy New Year or even Happy Deepavali. These short sentences may look simple, but they carry cultural weight. They show respect and acknowledgement of important events in someone else's life. Second, we often see code switching. Pupils mix English with cultural terms that are hard to translate or carry special meaning. For example, a pupil might say, let's eat ketupat, or I get angpao from my grandparents. The sentence is in English, but the cultural word stays in the original language. This makes sense because those words carry more than just meaning. They carry identity. Third, pupils use English to describe routines and practices. For example, we watch the parade, we like fireworks, or we wear traditional clothes. These are short and simple, but they reflect real life experiences. All of this shows that English learning in primary schools is not separate from culture. It is actually shaped by it. Pupils are not just memorizing grammar, they are using English to celebrate who they are. Cultural context goes beyond textbooks and individual sentences. It is part of the entire school experience. In the classroom, pupils share about festivals, family traditions, or national events as part of speaking activities. For example, a teacher might ask pupils to describe what they did during Independence Day or to talk about their favorite festival. These discussions naturally bring culture into English use. In school, events like assemblies, Independence Day, or Cultural Day, pupils also use English. They might sing songs, deliver short announcements, or perform simple dialogues in English. Even when they are representing their own culture, English becomes the medium to share it with others. This reflects Malaysia's multicultural setting. Pupils are not only practicing English, they are learning about their peers' traditions. For example, a Malay pupil may learn about Deepavali from an Indian friend, or a Chinese pupil may learn about Hari Raya from a Malay classmate. This builds classroom harmony and a shared identity. English acts as a bridge across cultures. It gives pupils a common platform to understand and appreciate diversity while at the same time improving their language skills. This is also aligned with the DSKP for English in primary schools. For example, Content Standard 2.1 is about communicating simple information intelligibly. Pupils are expected to communicate simple information about themselves, ask questions to find out information from others, and describe people and things clearly. The learning standards also support cultural context. For example, 2.1.1 pupils should explain and give reasons for their opinions. This could mean explaining why they enjoy a particular festival. 2.1.2 Pupils should describe experiences in the past. For example, last year we watched fireworks on New Year's Eve. 2.1.5 Pupils should describe people and objects using suitable statements. This could include describing cultural items like lanterns, flags, or traditional foods. So, when people talk about their celebrations, explain cultural practices, or describe what they see during festivals, they are not only sharing about culture, they are also meeting the official learning standards of the curriculum. This shows how cultural context is not just an extra, but a central part of English learning in Malaysian primary schools. Of course, there are both challenges and opportunities when we look at cultural context in English use. Challenges include the fact that pupils have different English proficiency levels. Some are very confident, while others struggle to express themselves. which makes participation uneven. Another challenge is confidence. Many pupils feel shy or afraid of making mistakes when talking about their traditions in English. But there are also many opportunities. When pupils share about their own traditions, it builds confidence and respect in the classroom. Pupils realize that their culture matters and that makes them more motivated to speak in English. Teachers can also create creative activities around cultural context, for example, role plays where pupils invite a friend to an open house, greeting cards for festivals, or posters about Independence Day. These activities make English lessons fun, meaningful, and closely connected to people's lives. So instead of seeing cultural context as a problem, we can see it as a resource. It is a way to make English learning more authentic, inclusive, and enjoyable for pupils. That's all from me.
Thank you, Fatin, for explaining situational context earlier. As she mentioned, pupils use English differently depending on the setting. For example, more formal during assemblies and examination, but more to casual when interacting with their friends or during informal group work. And thank you to Anissa, who highlighted how cultural context shapes English use in classroom, especially through examples of celebrations and cultural expressions. These examples remind us that English is never natural. It carries meaning that is tied to culture. And when we bring both together, situational and cultural context create an authentic, meaningful, and inclusive learning experience. For example, when pupils role-play a festival in class, they are actually practicing situational English because it is a classroom activity, and at the same time, they are learning cultural expression and showing respect for diversity. The integration is very powerful because it prepares pupils for real communication and support KPPB, especially in communication, collaboration, and creativity. So, as Fatin showed us, situational context is very important because it helps pupils adapt their English in different ways, builds confidence in using the right register, and prepares them for the real life communication. Without situational awareness, pupils may only know the rules of grammar but struggle to use English appropriately outside the classroom. Meanwhile, as Anissa pointed out, cultural contexts develop respect for diversity in intercultural awareness and tolerance. If pupils are not exposed to cultural contexts, they might not know how to communicate sensitively or politely across cultures. So when situational and cultural contexts are combined, they do more than just improve language skills. They support values like adaptability, empathy, and respect, which are very crucial for pupils to grow into responsible and globally minded individuals. So our essential question is, in what ways does understanding English use deepen our ability to connect across cultures and perspectives? The answers can be seen in four ways. First, pupils can adapt English effectively to different audiences, whether they are speaking to their teachers, classmates, or even visitors. Secondly, they learn to respect cultural values and linguistic diversity. For example, by using greetings like Happy Deepavali or Selamat Hari Raya in the right context. And thirdly, they develop global citizenships and empathy, becoming more aware of others and more respectful in communications. And finally, they practice critical and creative thinking, making decisions about which words, tone, or style to use in different situations. Altogether, this shows that English is not just a tool for exam, but a way to connect meaningful with people across different cultures and perspectives. So what does this mean for primary education? For teachers, it means designing lessons that reflect real-life context and cultural diversity. Examples include role play, group projects, or integrating cultural celebration into English lessons. These activities not only make lessons more engaging, but also help pupils practice language in ways that are authentic and meaningful. Teachers also have the responsibility to encourage collaboration and critical thinking in line with KPPB. For pupils, English becomes more than just a subject for examinations. It becomes a lifelong skill. Pupils gain confidence when adapting English in different situations, and at the same time, they develop empathy, intercultural awareness to communicate in globalized world. The implication is clear. Both teacher and pupils benefit greatly when situational and cultural contexts are fully integrated into English teaching and learning. To conclude, the integration of situational and cultural context strengthens English learning in Malaysian primary schools. With the support of KPPB, English lessons become more engaging, more meaningful, and more future-oriented. English is not only about grammar and vocabulary, but also a bridge that connects learners to one another, to their culture, and to the global community. And that brings me to the end of my presentation for today. On behalf of my group, I would like to sincerely thank Dr. Madana binti Idris for her guidance, and thank you for everyone for your kind attention. We truly hope this sharing has been insightful. We truly hope this sharing has been insightful and meaningful. So thank you for today. Assalamualaikum.